Hello there. This is Steven Jackson, recording this in my barracks room here at Joint Base Lewis McChord. It is 10:57 p.m., 9th of June, 2024, and I wanted to share some of my observations and my thoughts on the just released trailer for Diablo IV Vessel of Hatred, the new expansion that's going to be coming out on October 8th of this year. And first of all, I'm a big fan of Diablo 4. I've been a big fan of the entire Diablo franchise ever since the first game came out. Um, got really started with it with Diablo 2. I'm a big fan of the lore, the soundtrack. I really love the music. The music for me is one of the best parts. Um, and I really like how they've developed the story over the years. I know there was some legitimate criticisms about, Diablo 3 and how it kind of made it seem like the whole thing was a little more kid friendly than Diablo 2, but I'm still playing Diablo 3 and I still love it, so, take that as you will. Diablo 4, I think is an amazing game. First time I saw the announcement trailer for it with the emergence of Lilith. That was probably one of the greatest cinematic trailers I've ever seen. I mean, Blizzard, Activision, or just Blizzard on their own, they're not, they do have something of an inconsistency with some of the quality of their games, especially with stuff like Warcraft 3 Reforged. But when it comes to their cinematics, there is no competition. These guys just consistently hit it out of the park. Like Diablo 2 Resurrected cinematics were phenomenal. Diablo 3's were incredible to watch, especially the end of Act 1 where we learn about Tyrael's decision to renounce his angelic status and descend from the high heavens to help mankind. That whole thing, oh, it was so good, especially with the soundtrack title I Am Justice, one of the best they've ever done, hands down. So yeah, so in terms of cinematic quality, it's incredible. So the trailer starts um with kind of an overhead shot of a body of water, and it shows a boat passing under with two figures on it. Now, as the boat passes by, you start to see this kind of oily ooze emerge from the boat. Like, do you know, like, have you seen pictures of, like, the Exxon Valdez disaster and the Deepwater Horizon incident? Seeing how the oil kind of spread across the surface of the water, and, well, it was like that. And you're starting to see all these fish, these dead fish coming up, which is another thing that happened with, Exxon Valdez and the BP oil spill and all that. And then it cuts to Nerel, who at the end of Diablo 4 had disappeared with the Soul Stone that contained the essence of Mephisto, which the original plan was to keep away from Lilith to make sure that she didn't absorb her father's power and become nigh unstoppable. So she's in this boat and she's holding onto it, and already you can see that the Soul Stone is basically doing the exact same thing that all the Soul Stones do, is that it's not able to permanently contain the essences of the primevals. Like the only one that came close was the Black Soul Stone, and we all know how that one ended up. Um, so it cuts to her um, chanting over it, invoking the name of Akarat. And you can see like the corruption has just come over her fingers, and she's got sweat on her face, and it's just like taking all her willpower to try and like keep this thing contained, even though she is failing because it's starting to like well, the essence of Mephisto is starting to ooze through little cracks and it's dripping from the boat. So it's basically like she's in a losing battle. She's still fighting, but the odds are not in her favor. And the person that is rowing the boat, who's dressed up, kind of like Mesoamerican themed outfits, because considering this is going to be taking place in kind of a Mesoamerican themed environment called the jungles of Nahantu. I think I pronounced that right. So he's trying to like, "Yeah, are you okay? Can I help you?" And she lashes out at him, and you have this moment where like her eyes are completely black, and it's like for a moment, Mephisto's essence has just taken over her. And then it turns, and she's talking to her mother, who in the last game, unfortunately, was seduced by Lilith, and our player character had to kill her, and then later resurrect her in order to gain information on how to progress to catch up with her. So they have this conversation, and, it's kind of like a moment. It almost feels like a sweet and tender moment, but at the same time, you kind of get this weird feeling that there's something going on, something a little sinister. And she puts her hand on her face, and then all of a sudden, you start seeing this corruption just slowly spreading across Neryl's face. And then the scene shifts from in the boat in this jungle environment to something that Clive Barker could have thought of. Because holy crap, it is fucked up. Like it's bloody, it's dark, it's gross, it's like, and her mother gets turned into like this weird fleshy apparition, and all these bloody tendrils start piercing Narel's skin and like creating runes in her body. And then the most fucked up part, like her bones, like her arm gets stretched and then split. Like it's like the arm literally just, and I was like, holy crap. Like this is stuff that like the Cenobites do. This is messed up stuff. And so Narelle is clearly in like this organic torture chamber where she's just being like pulled apart, and you can hear Mephisto's voice in the background telling her to surrender, to give in, because you can just end it right now. Just accept the power, accept the domination. And then she's like, "No, I control the Soul Stone," and we're all just like, yeah, right." And then probably one of the best lines ever. Mephisto, it pulls back, and it's this giant statue of Mephisto that's like slowly like growing. Like you can see like the bloody tendrils that are coming out that like are creating limbs. It's basically like with the summoning circle in Diablo 4, where you had like the organic materials slowly fusing together to creating the connections to create the portal. And that's basically what's happening here, and it's fucking insane. And then Mephisto says, best line of the trailer, "You hold the stone. You control nothing." And I heard that, I'm like, oh my god, this is nuts. And then it finally ends with her just like screaming in agony as her mind just breaks. And then it flashes back, and it turns out it was all a vision. It was all just a dream. And the soul stone is lying on the floor of the boat, and all of these black, oily corruption has spread around it. And she kind of goes to turn around to the guy rowing the boat, and she's like, maybe I do need a little help. And it turns around, and the guy's dead. The guy's just lying back there. He's covered in this black, oily goo. He's got this giant, it looks like this giant tendril just sprouting out of his chest. His face is contorted in agony. And Narelle just has this look on her face of like, well, shit. And it's just a moment of despair, and you just take a moment, just like absorb the fact that you know she's lost another person on this journey. And then after a moment, you see the oar come back into the water, and it's her rowing it, and she's only got one hand, so she's just like pushing along with the stump. And she starts chanting the name of Akarat again, and it cuts back to the boat slowly coming through this giant gate into this jungle wilderness. And then it cuts to black, and it goes to Diablo IV Vessel of Hatred, October 8th, 2024, which is really cool because this is coming right after the season 4 update where a lot of popular changes are coming to the game. So lots of like revisions to the loot system and lots of gameplay fixes that will make the game a lot more appealing. And thus, when the expansion finally comes out, there's going to be people who are ready for it. It's going to be, oh, this is an expansion for Diablo 4, awesome. Just like, oh my God, there's an expansion for Diablo 4? I completely forgot about that game. So I'm definitely looking forward to where the story goes with it. And apparently, there's going to be a new class called Spiritborn, and it's kind of like it's described as an apex predator of the jungle. So I'm guessing it's supposed to be kind of like a damage dealing class. Um, Unfortunately, I don't know any details on that, but there's supposed to be a lot of new stuff like mounts and pets and lots of cool little in-game things that are coming along. But of course, as has happened quite frequently throughout history, everyone who gets involved with pre-orders is going to have some mixed feelings about it because, pre-orders means you're making a commitment to something that you don't have yet. So, with many games in the last few years, there's nothing wrong with being excited, but we should take it with a grain of salt. Because, cinematics are great and all, but we're not playing cinematics. We want to play a game. So until we get actual gameplay footage, take everything that Blizzard is telling us with a grain of salt. That's all I can say. Just, be excited about it, but don't get sucked in. Don't take everything they tell you at face value. Because, throughout history, we've had so many people um, like Bernie Madoff and the guys at Enron who like selling a product and it was all bullshit. And, we took everything they said as just solid gold, and a lot of people paid the price for it. So, that could be something here. Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred could be like one of the greatest expansions in the history of video games. It could be like everything that we got with Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction and Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls and better, or it could be a broken, buggy mess. We don't know. Um, but what I do know is that I am looking forward to seeing where the story goes. And this is going to be kind of a weird thing for me to say, but I kind of hope, and this is a weird thought for me, but I kind of hope that somehow they managed to bring Leah back from Diablo 3. I know it's probably not going to happen, but after, Reaper of Souls, I started thinking to myself, like, wouldn't it be kind of cool if there was some sort of like kind of a resurrection for Leah? It's like, because now that like demonic influence, the demonic essence is been destroyed, like would there be the chance for her to come back in a like a pure form, like a Leah the White sort of thing? I don't know. I mean, it would be kind of cool if she showed up and was trying to help Narelle. I mean, help her with fighting her uncle Mephisto. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing ideas out there. Actually, I have several characters in Diablo 3 right now. Um, the three big ones I have are it's a crusader named Paulus, a demon hunter named Valen, and a barbarian named Ulthane. And in my head canon, all three of them at the end of Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls, they all became kings. and formed an alliance. So Paulus became the Crusader King of Westmarch. Valen became the Hunter King of Pandoras, and Ulthane became the king of the barbarian tribes. So he actually made um, he rebuilt the city of Sescheron, and then he made his kingdom the kingdom of Ariat. Um, just kind of a crazy idea there. But the idea that, these three could have formed this alliance, I called it the Pact of the Three Kings. So the idea that, their descendants would then later go on to fight Lilith and her minions, and then somehow Leah would come back and help their descendants in this fight. Um, yeah, I'm just kind of rambling on, but yeah. So Diablo 4, Vessel of Hatred. Hope for good things. Prepare for server crashes, bugs, glitches. That whole thing. Because in this modern age, it's always like you gotta just take what they show you with a grain of salt. Because if you just throw yourself wholeheartedly into it, you're gonna have to deal with some disappointment because it's never going to be as perfect as you want it to be. Even when they make it the best game they can, there's always going to be that like impossible level that they're never going to be able to reach that you want them to, and so you're going to be disappointed. So just keep your expectations realistic. That's all I can say. So yeah, that's just my ramblings on there for a few moments. Time is now 11:14 p.m. and hope you all have a good night and stay safe. And that's all I got to say. Bye.